Welcome to the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we, a business owner and an artist, discuss the business of art and the art of business. Hey friends, I'm Carl, founder of Epic Made, and I'm the host of the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we share our thoughts on creativity, art, and business. Past guests include Sebastian Lopez Fernandez, co-founder of Awake Abroad Media, Jenny Dave, and Casey Smith, co-founders of Mothers of MoGraph, and Matt Vojak, founder of Made by Things. We are forever grateful for the supporters of our podcast and are always looking for more sponsors. That said, Pixel Retentive is always brought to you by the creative gurus at Epic Made. Epic Made is a team of strategists and artists who excel in visual storytelling. Our studio crafts unforgettable animation and illustration that not only captivates your audience, but also drives tangible business results. We specialize in engaging imaginative, pop culture savvy audiences with beloved clients like WWE, Nickelodeon, and Sci-Fi. Visit getepicmade.com and let's collaborate on your next creative campaign. All right, I fumbled through that. Let's do it. So with us today, we have Mia Pokryfka and Elissa O'Dell. Did I do it right? Yeah? Oh. Nailed it. All right. Are the founders of Huxley, a Shorty Award-winning creative tech studio specializing in one-on-one conversations. One-on-one conversations, innovative chatbots designed to build meaningful relationships in the DMs. Their all-female team has worked with clients ranging from best-selling authors to nonprofits like Charity Water, where they've merged cutting-edge technology with a deeply human approach. With a 13-year partnership that began with the viral Kony 2012 campaign, Mia and Elissa are pioneering in digital communication and champions for women in STEM. All right, welcome to the show. Got through the scripted stuff. Wrecking it today. Yeah, we're really excited to have you guys. All right, so before we jump into the topic, I always like to let our audience, learn a little bit more about you. So, how long have you two been in your industry, and what project are you most proud of so far?
Oh, that's such a great question. So we have been in the industry since we started this company, Huxley, in 2017, but we've been actually working together since 2012. So we've been working together.
Yeah, 2011.
Ooh. That is true. 2011. Yeah. Time is just literally flying.
It does that, especially post-COVID. COVID seemed like one long year, it was like
it really did. Like, I feel like I went into COVID like super young, and I've now come out of COVID very old.
No gray going into COVID. I'm not even bullshitting. Like, I literally just went gray through COVID. It was perfect timing.
Well, that's nice when you're inside all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
We've been working together for a really long time.
That's really awesome. All in the agency space, I take it. Yeah.
No, Huxley started out as a software business. So we were producing online courses with industry experts around the topic of mental health. And at the time, there was not really any resources online for millennials, and we wanted to create a destination that people could explore their internal world with people they admired. So we're producing all these beautiful courses, and then we're like, how do you know that person's life is impacted? As a brand, how do you know what's resonating? How do you know who these people are? Are they going to buy from you again? So we took all of our online courses and we made them interactive over chatbots. And we released them on Facebook Messenger in 2017. And that's when we learned the power of delivering content to where people spend time and making it interactive. So we became obsessed with chat because it almost mimicked building a relationship one-on-one, and it was a safe place. So for me personally, what I feel like when it comes to our work in this space that I'm most proud of is being so smart to take online courses and make them interactive and create a place that people are open to being vulnerable about their emotions and their feelings. That's how Huxley started. We're at a very different place now because you learn and iterate, right. But it was amazing to work with. We had topics on biohacking to dating to health, and it was unreal to see thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people interacting for a very long time. Mia,
hearing really vulnerable stuff. Because, like, just to take you, like, everyone back in time for like a second, like when this is early, like mid, I don't know, 2011, 12, 13, like that time frame, the concept was, oh, fill a video and have people like watch it on your platform and then download a PDF. And that was it. That's the interaction. And that was the experience. And that was considered,
Good.
Like the thing. And
Yeah.
Elisa and I were like, but what are you going to do with a PDF? Like, wouldn't it be so much better if there was like this interaction where like that brand or influencer, whoever it was, could ask the question, you respond, and it keeps going and it feels interactive. And I think there's something about when it's interactive and not you just filling out a piece of paper that you're able to like really dive into the topic and explore what you're interested in.
So you guys were working with like a large language model before anyone even knew what that was, really. I mean, on the grander, not everybody talks about like chatbots and all that sort of stuff, but that's only been the past, 2-3 years at the most, if you're like super dialed in for the mass public here. So
it's wild to see how much the industry has changed in the last, give or take, 10 years.
So grateful. Like we used to use the word chatbot in our branding because there was so much stigma with chatbots.
Right.
But our team specializes in a particular way of building relationships with chat. The term in the industry is conversational design, and we really value having a team of storytellers and marketers to bring voices to life in a way, because there's a reason everyone's like, oh, I'm talking to a bot, right? Something that's not typically the feedback our clients get from their audiences, that they feel like they're talking to a robot.
Yeah, it's wild. The way, I mean, I use ChatGPT every single day now, and I use it similarly for what you were just talking about in terms of like, if I get a big lengthy contract, like I hate reading contracts, but like I have a conversation set aside just for like legal digest. So like, hey, I drop this in there, and then I work through the meat of it with the chatbot in layman's terms, and then send my feedback to my attorney so that I like get half the way there before I need to actually bring in somebody and start paying them, right? But same thing with like, you could do that with courses, and then it's very interactive, and I'm sure your product is much more robust in the way that you guys go about doing these things. But anyways, I love the idea of that. I'm sort of familiar with it. So,
well, I think so many people, like especially brands, because we target consumer-based, medium-sized enterprise brands. Chatbots are predominantly used for FAQs and customer service. Today, DMs are open for automation. Instagram announced DMs are where your audience is spending time. So this is like, we could talk to you about this for hours. It's a huge untapped growth opportunity to cut through the algorithm, get your audience's attention, and to have better conversions. But today we're seeing so many people, including brands, use this channel and chatbots like sending a PDF or sending just a product. And we come in and we are taking relationship building and marketing to the next level with chatbots versus just using it like AI. Like ChatGPT has its own role in the space, and we're kind of carving out our own space of like brand storytelling in the DMs.
I love that. Do you want to get into that a little more? I'm fascinated. What's the coolest maybe use case of that? And we're fully into today's subject of the art of building one-on-one relationships and how that's all works in today's marketplace. And just so what's the coolest thing you've seen, campaign wise? You don't need to mention like any company specifics, or you can mention whatever you're comfortable mentioning, but I'd be interested to hear like some innovative ways that you see this happening now. Yeah,
for sure. Let's also like apparently I feel like I'm just going to be the bearer of time for this conversation. I feel like I want to look at like how people are using it at the moment, just so we can showcase, I think, an alternative way of using this technology, whether people work with us or are going to do some of the stuff themselves. Right now, what we're seeing in the DMs, it's just so cool that Meta opened it up for everyone to build on this and to, use the technology to, yes, automate, but there's an opportunity to like actually build this relationship, right? So right now, I'm sure you've seen it. Right now, a lot of, especially creators, are saying like, DM me this password and I'll send you whatever product I'm using in the video, this recipe and that, or whatever it is.
Right.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, right. So that's how it's being used. And then they just send you the one thing and then that's it. And for us, like, that is such a missed opportunity to actually build a relationship. Like, when you use the DMs or text, what are you doing with your friends, right? You are having a back and forth conversation. It feels really weird that you wouldn't continue a back and forth conversation in the space that is made to have a back and forth interaction. And I mean, to us, that seems really obvious. And so, there's an opportunity to take that, hey, you want to know more about fill in the blank? DM me the password happens, and then immediately a conversation begins. So whether it's, hey, here's my latest podcast. Well, for us, I think something we're really intrigued by is so much of social media is consuming, right? It's very passive, which is really fun, especially when you just want to like check, like zone out for a little bit. But at the end of the day, there is an opportunity to actually invite people into, let's say, the podcast. So here's my latest podcast episode. What we, with us, we can follow back up, an hour the next day, whenever you want. Ask people, what did they think of the podcast? What did they learn? Invite them into the same conversation. And it can continue on. You can link the products inside, if that's something that was talked about, and really gauge how someone, like we always say, if you want to know something from someone, just ask them. And I think there's something on the zero-party data that we find really fascinating, because what we have found to be true is that when you give people the space to share, they tell you so much. And it's wild. Like, we had a dating interaction, a one-on-one, and people were asked, what are your strengths with dating? What are your weaknesses? I'm not kidding you. Thousands of people were sharing the most intimate stories about kind of what's going on. And so it's really, I think, cool to see that people want to share.
Were they sharing this with a company that was DMing them that was actually not anyone? It was a bot.
Correct. We think, our hypothesis, people are sharing because they know it's not a real person.
Oh, fascinating.
But because they're being asked, they're feeling seen, they're feeling heard. We do a lot of active listening in our one-on-ones.
And then you guys are... Go ahead.
I was going to say, that's why in our bio, we say, like, we bring a human touch. And that's what's really missing in the consumer to brand interaction with chat. It's that human touch, like treating someone like a human and putting them on stage. And for us, like, we know how hard it is for brands to stand out in the algorithm, to know their lifetime value of their audience, to know the return of their ROI of social. And now when you treat your audience and you build a relationship in the DMs, you can actually see all of that.
That's really cool. And then obviously someone on the actual team, if they ever, hey, we've got to call this person, or let's say it was, working with my agency, for instance, and we were doing outreach, like we jump in there and read the history before we get on an actual call with them. So that, that makes sense. And Well, I guess I'll just add to that for
clarification. We can also connect. So for the first time in social history, you can now connect a CRM to the DMs.
Oh, so that's what you're saying about Meta's doing now.
Yeah. So now, whatever CRM you use, you can get their name, their Instagram handle, if they follow you, if you follow them, and we're collecting zero and first party data that really helps brands understand who is following them. Why are they following them?
I've seen a bunch of pages creating groups now as well, especially on like Instagram and stuff, where it's like you come into this group, and I imagine a lot of that is a good use case for some of this technology as well.
Well, let's talk about
Go
that.
ahead, Elissa.
Let's talk about that for a second. So there's a few different avenues that Meta has been testing with using the DMs, because as we said, the DMs are the number one place people are spending time, over stories and over reels. So I need every marketer to take that in for a second.
Yeah, that's huge.
Big deal. And also there's no algorithm in the DMs, and you can follow up with your audience. But you can follow up with your audience one-to-one with DM automation, okay? Then there's DM lists, which you were just mentioning, right? So anyone can broadcast channels.
Yeah.
You can have a podcast channel, but that's one-to-many, right? It's not the same as one-to-one. There's a time and place for one-to-many. I think it's kind of similar to SMS. I know Mia feels the same way. It's like, okay, hey, cool, we have this product launch. But when you do it one-to-one, it's conversational. That person, it's a back and forth dialogue. So just to like clarify, so we are big prominent fans of DM automation for one-to-one relationship building over broadcast channels, because sometimes it feels like you're speaking into the void.
Right.
Someone has to execute it in a very strategic way. And we've only seen a few brands do a really good job of using it as like a brand loyalty channel over, I don't know, just mass marketing.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I think that one-on-one nature and the authentic communication, because like, you know, previous to having a chatbot that was really good, the previous chatbots were all just like, you send a thing and it gives you an auto reply, and it's very basic and it feels very inhuman. And I love this idea of this like more, just I guess it's just a better intelligence, a better AI than what was they were working with before. But I've seen something, and I shouldn't requote things when I don't have the actual data. So do your own research. But I saw something where it was like they had a bunch of people doing blind studies where they were doing like therapy, and half of them were with doctors and half of them were with chatbots, right? And they had no way of knowing who was on the other end. And the humans came back less human than the chatbots.
I've not seen a particular study, but I have seen another one that was rating doctors as well. Maybe similar. I don't know. This was about a year ago or so, and UCLA was doing a talk on like what's going to happen. And I saw the same thing, and I think that's just so interesting. But I think part of that is also like so much of the human touch is like void in so much of our interactions, right? Like everything feels very transactional, and that's something when we're creating, how do we build in those transactions so it feels like a friend recommending something as opposed to being pushed something on you? And we have seen that feels just like there's a lot more success when it's done.
That way. Yeah.
And you give context about what success means, right? Because I think someone can think, oh, we're so great at this. This is so awesome. This is the way to do it. We have a 75% engagement rate for when someone enters our chatbots, as we call one-on-ones. So that means 25% of people bounce, compared to like websites, which we all know is like double to triple that number. We have a 35% click-through rate on call to actions. And on average, we see people spending 5 minutes with a brand interacting. So if you compare that to a reel, it's like revolutionary. And that's average. We've seen Gen Zers spend 60 minutes, coming back like 70 times. We've seen, people in their 60s and 70s sharing information and being very vulnerable. And we have a 90% response rate to questions in the DMs. And some people so it's like really, really amazing data for brands with social media. Because we know, the brands we work with are brands that have built their empires on social media. The people that, for them, that's their channel. That's where they build relationships, but that's also where they sell. And for us, there's such a deeper opportunity to do what they're already really good at in a personal way. And I have something crazy to tell you.
Okay.
We use AI for data interpretation, but we do not use AI in our audience to brand interactions. It is all story-based driven experiences, because AI is not where it needs to be for what we do. But AI is so powerful for data. And me and I both stand very, very firm. We believe in building relationships through chat, but we don't think it replaces humans. We don't think it replaces that relationship element. We just can add an addition to marketing, but we don't believe that this will fill like this void in humanity with loneliness. Not to get grandiose and mission oriented, but like that's something we deeply care about.
Yeah, good. I mean, so on the creative side, we see a lot of people with lots of varying opinions on generative AI, which is sort of the other side of this coin. I think these are all tools that we need to figure out how to embrace to enhance humanity, enhance connection, and enhance interaction, even on the creative side. Like, how do we create more and have, like, how do individual artists create opportunities where they can do more of the things they want to do that they were never going to be able to do without these tools, right? So I think that's kind of the same kind of methodology. Like, how do we reach more people, engage more people to get them in the door so that we can then have more human interactions with them, right? Because at the end of the day, you still want to talk to people. I still want to get on these things and have interactions with with real faces that are not made up bots.
It's true. I think we all want that, right?
Of course.
Like, regardless. Like, I feel like part of the AI conversation, I heard someone talk about it. Like, there was a lot of fear when like the camera came on the scene and it was going to replace painting. I don't know if that's something you've already talked about on this podcast. And I'm sure that was a really big fear. And I can see how that fear in the art world around AI is really scary. I think some of it does feel scary. I think when Elise and I are talking about relationships, it feels scary that there's like AI girlfriends. Like that feels, that's like a whole nother layer to all of this. But I think, you know, for the everyday person who's already going on social media every day, how do we enhance that time spent on social media? So you're not just consuming, and as an audience member, now I'm talking not necessarily from the brand point of view, but from the audience point of view, you know, you're not just consuming, there's an opportunity for you to actually think about things that matter to you and feel like you're part of the larger story.
Yeah. Yeah. I talked to this lady who has a chatbot that she's built into a VR simulation situation where she actually has VR and interacts with this, and this is her digital best friend and therapist, and like knows all of her secrets and like deeply vulnerable with this bot. Like I said, the whole thing was kind of crazy, but also like we always, I think people think about like, oh, if you have this, then you're not going to talk to real other human beings. It's like, this might help you collect your thoughts, and this in a way that's very human, right? Like now that I can talk to my phone and it transcribes, like it's easier for me to get all my ideas about all the stories I'm writing and all the work I'm doing or how to organize my business, because there's a more natural way of doing that. It's hard for me to sit down and write with a piece of paper like my plans. Like I'm too ADD for that. But these things are, I think, I don't think it's and or, right? I think, you know, you can have this and this helps you work through your own shit that maybe you don't want to dump on your friends, but that doesn't replace you going over to your friend's house and like, you know, watching a show or like, you know, eating some food together, you know, that kind of stuff. So I think it's healthy if it's done the right way. You know, like you said, not replacing people, just an addition to.
Yeah, I'll just like bring it back to the brand side of things for a second. You know, I think and Elissa was mentioning this. We know it's so hard right now to stand out from the crowd, right? Like, how do you actually like grab and keep attention, especially, you know, as a brand when there are so many other entertaining things on social media? Like, really, frankly, how do you do it? And so for us, this is, I think, one of the solutions for brands is to actually take that little bit of time to do something personal for your audience.
Yeah, it's the world's noisy, right? But there's always like, I'm just kind of going with the logic you're talking about. Like, I always check my DMs, like on any platform. If you have a DM, you're going to check it, right? So that's a disruptor right there for sure. I mean, we did an ad, I forget, like last October. We got a 10% click-through rating on a YouTube ad, which is like fucking awesome. But like 35% on the DMs is like, oh my God, you know, a 1% ad's great, right? In most campaigns. So when you get up to 10%, we thought we were doing something amazing, but like I could totally see how 35% could be an average in DMs. Like it's like you said, it's probably a lot of cases where it's way higher. That's so disruptive. It's
and
crazy to think about.
Something just, it's so hard to explain this as like emerging industry, because this is like emerging our spaces when it comes to creating branded marketing chatbots. It's a new space, right? So when people hear these metrics, like Mia was describing, they're just like, hey, DM me this word and send a link. People are going to get burnt out. We were talking about this yesterday. People are going to get burnt out on that so fast.
So quick.
So like understanding the art of telling your brand story, knowing your customer persona, knowing their needs, adding value. Like we're such believers in value exchange. Like if you're going to ask for something, you better give your audience something else. And this is the reason we have these type of metrics here at Huxley. And then also I just wanted you to know, for everyone to know, you can drive traffic from a paid ad into the DMs. So imagine like you don't have to drive them to your website. You don't get their data. You don't get any like their name or anything. Now from an ad to the DMs, you get their name, their PSID, and their Instagram handle. And then you can ask for their email, and it's all in the CRM.
Amazing. So they have an API that just plugs into most of the CRMs now. Is that what's, or you use like Zapier, or like how does that
We don't have
that's a really technical question.
we can connect. Yeah, we can connect. Most CRMs.
We can't give away our secret sauce too much.
No stress.
The layman cannot go in and connect their CRM. It's we personally are fans of Meta and are so grateful for their API, and we really respect how they handle their data regulations. So it's not as simple as like connect your CRM. There's a few different steps to do so, but it's a huge opportunity for people who've built their empires on social media.
Sounds like it. The numbers sound crazy in a good way. So.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, like, this is not like just a one fluke situation. Like the beginning of our story, we've had these metrics since day one. And I think we're being a little modest with our time spent. We've had a 90% response rate to questions. And when we questions, we don't mean like, hey, what's your name? We mean like, how did this make you feel? Or what are your thoughts? We've had that response rate since day one with our work. And it's not just the technology is part of it. It's about knowing how to tell stories and speak to people one-to-one.
All right, so like the chatbot works, it's crushing it, it's getting people to do the things. Like, what's the next level of engagement? Where do the human beings come in and circle back and really build these deep levels of a customer relationship and engagement?
That is where we hand it off to the brands. So depending on like what it is their goals are, they, I should also just say that we follow all like GDPR and CCPA regulations with the data. Like we're not just like willy-nilly with the data. Good. But I think, as Elissa was kind of saying, you could watch a reel for 3 seconds or you can have a conversation, and not you need both. Like I think what we're kind of saying is like you need the presence like everywhere. And so I think the human part comes in then when that person is going like actually into the store, right? Like this is then taking them to do those next level things.
Gotcha.
And to add on top of that, we always tell people chatbots, not just the work. I will speak from like our work that we do. One-on-one chatbots fall into every stage of the funnel, really besides brand awareness, like brand engagement, conversions. And it comes down to how you design them. And depending on the size of the brand and what your product is, we typically don't advise to have a human come in. But if, let's say you're doing like, you have a high price point and you have a lead gen form in a chat format, then you can bring a human in. But really, we recommend our clients how are you going to talk to them over email after they've been through this experience? How are you going to talk to them over SMS? So, a lot of our target clients, them doing one-to-one customer service isn't something they execute over Instagram DMs.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So I like for me, we have high ticket items, right? I run an agency. When we're building relationships, like on LinkedIn, for instance, like I'll add somebody or follow them and start to interact with them in their chats, like in their comments underneath their posts, and do those are kind of like the tried and true methods of like, hey, this is just the beginnings of building an online relationship. I don't know if they'll ever need my services or I'll ever need theirs, but we're in the same ecosystem, so I try to build relationships with people in the spaces that I think are doing cool things. One thing I started to notice was like a weird, like it's AI bots commenting on posts, and especially like some of the content about AI. It's like, this is all AI generated content with like AI posting on it. And it just seems like this like rabbit hole of like just wasted electricity with no human beings involved. So, and all vanity metrics too, which is like crazy. And not that this has nothing to do with what you guys are doing, but this is just kind of in that same vein of like navigating the space right now is a little crazy, especially, in the comment section and the content, that side of things. So.
Yeah, it's so funny. I feel like I don't spend probably enough time on LinkedIn. But I think that's a really interesting observations that you have. And I'm curious to, I feel like, explore that a little bit more. But yeah, it feels like the wild, wild west. And I think something that we're really interested in shaping the space, though, is now we are huge proponents of ChatGPT. We also use it on a daily basis. Just, like you said, like same sort of things, whether it's legal or just like, literally like how do we do X on whatever website? Where is find me this on that website? It's so helpful. But I think that's exactly the thing where it's at right now is like you ask it questions and then it's like, okay, let me know if you have any more questions. That's it. That's the end of the interaction for the most part. And so I'm really interested in like, where's the space going of it going to actually be able to hold a conversation to help actually help you figure these things out and anticipate, your next move, or maybe it's just it, right? I think the next step, at least for what we're building, is the active listening piece. But I'm curious to see where it ends up going.
Yeah, that's where we're taking our AI next, is when people share their thoughts and their feelings or their opinions, is making sure that brand's responding in like a respectful, active listening way. Sounds so simple. It's not.
Yeah. Well, when you do it well, it looks simple, right? Like that's the mark.
Yeah. And that's where I think I sometimes meet people that are interested in creating their own chatbots and stuff like that. So, we started out talking about how Huxley started, and we created a platform that people could create online courses over chat. And people were so excited because this is like the rise of like Teachable, Kajabi. And we're like, we're going in and we're competing with these people. And we're going to make online courses more engaging. Our brands are going to make more money. And just because you can produce an online course and make video doesn't mean you know how to do chat. And we learned really the hard way. Our natural skill set was using this type of software and using our creativity to tell stories over chat. Like I said, that's not everyone's skill set. So let me tell you, that was all a painful thing to learn and watch happen, because all brilliant people, like I brilliant people that people know names, and it wasn't good. And we realized no online course to teach people how to do this was going to make it better for them. And we realized like our skill set is creating really amazing chatbots. Let's really use our skill set to help people like outsource it to us. So that's how we ended up here. So the reason, like hearing you talk about LinkedIn and that type of behavior we see on Facebook and Instagram, I think it, like Nia was saying, it's the wild, wild west.
Yeah,
it is the wild, wild west.
It's just crazy sometimes. So it's like, man, I'm pretty sure all of this like has very little human interaction. It's like hundreds of likes and like all these comments. Like, well, this is crazy. But that just makes products like yours look even better, right? Like when you have the like totally out of left field stuff that isn't doing anything other than pumping up some bot vanity metrics, right? Like, yeah, there's I like love ChatGPT, and you guys have brought that up a couple times as well. But it's so helpful, like just on the AI like content creation side. Like I took all the transcripts from like 30 podcasts I've done in my live art show and all, and just dumped them into ChatGPT and a bunch of my emails and all that. And so now it can write like me. So when I'm like half brain dead at like 3 p.m, I just like, I need to reply to this email. And I'm just like, I want to say this goblin, just like really terrible brain dump. And I drop it in there and it writes it like me. I'm like, this is really nice, because it would have taken me an hour to write this email and it would have still sucked.
Oh, I know. Mia refers to ChatGPT as our little friend. She's like, yes. I'm our friend. And we have like a business account. I've been training on our like business models, our language. So if we ever need to shift something, it's like we have a little, almost like a COO with us to advise. So we love them.
It's so amazing. So any of our listeners that are listening, if you're doing anything really anything that involves you communicating or strategizing or like, you haven't started using ChatGPT yet, like you're literally behind the ball. Like it's such an amazing tool for productivity, and it doesn't replace writers. It doesn't replace when I need something really well written, I'm going to hire a writer. And hopefully they use ChatGPT to make the most out of their efforts. But it's like when I want to do a really amazing piece of art, like sometimes I'll render some quick things that exactly what I need, and either like some sort of generative AI and drop those in and then manipulate and illustrate over top of them in Photoshop, because I have the skills to really do that, right? Whereas like most people just like, oh, well, I got this out of the thing and that's it. You know what I mean? So, and we don't do that for client work, just for the record. That's just for my own personal side of things.
I have to say, Nia was messing around with generative AI, and we were both like, what? Life easier. Like, we were so excited to make some visuals because, one of our goals is to make chatbots cool, right? And the way it's branded is not fun online. So we were playing around with AI for it, and we were like, oh, man. And I think this whole conversation, AI enhances our lives. It does not replace. We have a director of storytelling here at Huxley. We brought her on when ChatGPT literally was blowing up because we needed someone who knew how to bring the humanity to the words that we were saying. And that's what I think is really missing in the marketing space with chat.
I agree.
Like, we could leave anything with anyone in marketing. If you're going to go down this route of, utilizing the DMs, and again, whether you work with us or, you're going to try to do this yourself or whatever you decide to do it is, how would you want to be talked to in that case?
And that's just good advice for your whole life. Like, the golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated.
Yeah, absolutely.
So true, though.
It's harder than it sounds because me and I, over the years, will write copy and we're like, wait, we're just selling ourselves. We're not speaking to our clients. So I get why people you have to outsource some stuff, right? Because it's so hard when we're business owners. So we're so in our things. So we've definitely had times where oh my God, we're just waving our flag and not talking to our customer. So that's what we'd like to think we come in and do for our clients is we're an extension of your marketing team. We're going to make sure you're not just talking about how great you are.
Yeah, definitely got to be speaking to the pain points and making sure that your people feel heard and that you can fix their problems, whatever that is. Yeah, no, I get it. We, Ross and I, my creative director, were we'll get in the weeds on our copy sometimes. It's why are we using all these words, these big, we just start overdoing everything. It's no, this is garbage. It's just go back.
It's easy to do. I feel that's part of it, right? But if you could be good at the editing and the pruning, then there you go.
Yeah, well, that's as important as the creative part, right? The polish at the end. So,
yeah,
cool. So, what do you guys see coming down the pipeline in the near future? You want to make some predictions on where this is going, especially the chat side of things?
Okay, I have one negative prediction.
Okay.
Can I start with the negative? And then you can end. So I want to end on a positive,
You're so good at predicting. You're so good at predicting.
Thank you. I do think this space, as much as it's the wild, wild west, I do think people are going to get burnt out very, very quickly with how the DMs are being utilized at this exact moment in time. We hope to be shaping that so it doesn't get to that point, but how it's being used as just another form of email. This is not email. And it's being used as email. And people how often do you check your email, your promotion tab on Gmail, right?
I click select all, delete pretty often.
Yeah. And that's what's going to happen to this space. What's interesting, I believe you mentioned it, Elissa, but I'll just highlight again. Right now in the DMs, there is no algorithm. So if you send if a brand is sending a message in the DM, which by the way, your audience has to opt in before you can just send them stuff. They're going to see it, right? But if you're just kind of spamming them, which is what a lot of what we're seeing brands and creators do right now, you're going to lose the opportunity of the channel. You're going to lose the opportunity for data and really getting to know who your audience is. So I hope that I do see it going that way if it stays the course of spamminess.
Yeah.
I have the positive side was saying.
Let's go.
The majority of the people that are being spammy, it's creators, coaches, digital product people, which means a lot of audiences are sliding into those DMs and interacting with those chat experiences, which means we're going to see brands utilizing this channel. So right now, you probably haven't seen, I'm trying to think of prominent brands. Wendy's, you probably haven't seen Wendy's because Wendy's is very known for having a really great reputation. Or Duolingo. Duolingo has a great reputation on social. We're not seeing those brands utilize that channel yet, but that's where our business comes in because that's the people we're going after. We're going after the brands that want to be on the DMs. So we're definitely projecting that we'll see more brands optimizing on this. I think some of them are a little burnt out because in 2017, Meta approached everybody being get on Messenger, and it didn't work out for them. But we saw Dior have a really successful chatbot on Instagram. They're based, I think it was in the UK, right, Nia?
I think so.
So we're foreseeing that we're going to see more brands entering the space. And then hopefully like more prominent creators entering the space as well.
This is fascinating. My brain's kind of like, okay, if you are building this actual human interaction in the DMs and building this essentially a person, right? Like we're talking about personifying the brands more so than they really have been for a long time. I feel like we might, on the flip side of that, see a resurgence of mascots as well. So now you're talking to Wendy from Wendy's or Dave or whoever, right?
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
Because that is just fun at that point, right? Because you're not talking to a person, right? And I feel like that's what I feel like is very exciting about the space. You hit the nail right on the head.
It's kind of like Siri, like, you know, there's you can ask like certain little jokes and like there's like people like that stuff, especially because you can build like character that people know it's not a person, right? Like they know it's not, you know, the CEO or whatever, but like, hey, we say these things and we don't say these things and we talk about this way. And I think there's a lot of fun language and culture that you can build into that, and really let your customers experience the culture of your company deeper than really anything else that I could think of off the top of my head.
You know what's funny? I gotta just say, I was just gonna say one thing real quick.
Okay.
So in the last year, we've also seen Meta partner with Kendall Jenner and Snoop Dogg and a couple others to create kind of these mascots, if you will. I don't want to
Don't knock on our people.
Right. But because it wasn't story driven and it just was like a free for all, I'm just going to give this one example because we played around with all because we were so excited for the space. Talking to Snoop Dogg, or what we thought was Snoop Dogg, right? And, you know, we talked about some illicit substances and he's like, oh, I don't do that. That's very off brand for Snoop Dogg.
Way off brand. Way off.
Then it pulls you out of the experience, right? And then you're like, oh, this is just
liability.
It was not good.
So this is where it's like, it's not enough to just be like, talk to Wendy's, right? It's like, what's the story that we're telling with Wendy's, right? Like, what is it that you want your audience to get out of it? And what do you want them to walk away doing? You know, how are they going to feel that a relationship has been built?
Man,
a way
to
like see the work that we really bring to the table compared to other companies and technology products is like, we really come from this perspective like of a choose your own adventure experience. We want people to think they're in an experience. It's not a chatbot. It's an experience that evokes emotion, inspiration. You learn something new. And I think, you know, we could even, if we can do that for people traveling to Zimbabwe and learning about how access to clean water changes people's lives, we can do that for Wendy's, you know?
Yeah.
Like so many, there's so many cool things you can do in the DMs. Like we pitched some really, really cool stuff to brands and Mia always comes up with crazy ideas for clients to do. Mia, I think of like one of your most recent ideas that people can do.
Gosh, I don't know. I don't want to give away all the secrets.
I know. But there's just some fun things you can do.
I was just thinking about the liability issue there that you brought up with like Snoop Dogg, right? Like you can just see like Suburban Susie. Well, my son was DMing with Snoop Dogg on Meta, and he smokes marijuana now, so you ruined his life. Like, you know, it's like I don't know. I just like I don't know.
Yeah, like this is why it's got to be a little bit more of we like to think of them kind of like rides at Disneyland, right? You're going to get on, we're going to take you through an experience, and then you get off on carry on with your day. This is not a free for all because then you have that exact experience.
Yeah.
We actually, funny enough, have worked with a cannabis brand and created a choose your own adventure experience depending on if you've consumed cannabis and if you've not. No. So you got two different experiences where you got educated. There was like a meditation, product recommendations. And so we've done it. And, you know, we were very conscious of HIPAA compliance, but there was no like what Snoop was doing.
But yeah, I mean, to your point, like if I DM Snoop and in any scenario, he talks about how he doesn't smoke weed, like the whole thing's bullshit now, right? Like
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyways. Well, cool. We are coming up on time here. This has been so much fun. I hope we could talk about AI all freaking day. But before we go, I want to ask one last question for you guys. What are your favorite mentors or resources or clients, things you want to give a shout out to, in the industry? So,
okay, I have two.
Okay.
I want to shout out to my YouTube Premium subscription. I love it so much. I'm a big YouTuber. I love
What do
it.
you get with the premium? I don't even know.
No ads.
Oh,
I cannot handle ads. I can't do ads because I consume it so much. I don't want an ad in the middle of my podcast. It's like my go-to educational tool where I try to expand what learning new things. And then also, I'm going to be cheesy for a second, but shout out to my 13-year relationship with Mia because we've been collaborating and working together for so long. And I don't think innovative new things come into the world without multiple minds. So I would say I think mentorship and all that stuff is hard to find, but finding a business partner that you see the world similarly but different at the same time is pretty amazing.
Beautiful. I love it. 13 years to
what I was going to say. Great minds think alike. Yeah. Although I don't have a YouTube subscription, just the second part. Okay, there.
I don't either. But I do.
Tool that came to my mind besides ChatGPT because we've talked about ChatGPT so much.
A lot for sure. Cool. All right, and a big thank you to Danielle from Badassery who connected us with you all. Badassery, they have like a public speaker platform and a bunch of other stuff, right?
They're amazing. They are a community for very thoughtful, creative thought leaders. It's a place digitally that people connect, and then it's also a public speaking bureau. I'm a big fan of Badassery.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely recommend everyone look into that some more as well. So cool. All right. Well, we have been talking with Mia Pokryfka, nailed it, and Elissa O'Dell, who are co-founders of Huxley. You can check out their website at huxly.co. But if listeners want to follow up with you all directly, where should they go?
Hey, Huxley on Instagram. And if you're like, what on earth have these people been talking about chatbots all day long? Well, go check out some of our work. DM us the password demo, and you'll get to experience a real one-on-one chatbot that we designed so you can see what it feels like. But hey, Huxley, Instagram is probably the best place to find us.
No, I will go check that out afterwards because now I'm curious. All right, Mia and Elissa, thanks so much for being on the show. And until next time, we'll see you guys.
All right, have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.
We really hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe to join us on our next journey through the world of art and business on the Pixel Retentive Podcast.